research is not about music. It's about the other thing that has a lot of potential to connect. It's about sport. Sounds lovely.
Wasn't that a great performance? Christina Biermann and Mariana Große. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Science Slam World Cup here in this beautiful art house, Cinenova. It's our pleasure to be here. Switch off your phones. My name is Stefan Schneider and I will guide you through this evening. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm completely confused. I forgot. I need to apologize. Sorry. I introduced myself, but I forgot to ask for your name. What is your name? Victoria Ferranz. Victoria Ferranz. Okay. This is very much appreciated. Victoria Ferranz. Where do I put this? Here. Sorry, I need to apologize. Forgot this. Okay. So, proceed. The Science Slam World Cup is organized by the German Sport University Cologne and is funded by the German Research Foundation, DFG. The Science Slam World Cup is an award-winning concept within the German Research Foundation's program for international research marketing, which itself is embedded in a bigger program called Research in Germany, set up by the Federal Ministry of Education and Research. We'd like to thank everyone who's here tonight from DFG and the Ministry for your support. Thank you very much. During the last week, we had 19 participants from 5 continents and 14 countries as a guest at the German Sport University. People were coming from Belgium, from the Netherlands, from Portugal, Switzerland, Great Britain, Canada, the United States, Puerto Rico, Brasilia. Puerto Rico was wrong, wasn't it? Costa Rica. Think about that gag, it will appear, it will reappear. From India, from Australia, and of course from Germany. Ethiopia and South Africa. And I mentioned Spain, didn't I? I mentioned Spain. We had together a brilliant week. The first pre-finals took place on Tuesday night in the Clubbahn of Ehrenfeld. On Wednesday night, we were hosted by the German Olympic Sport Museum downtown. And on Thursday night, we were in Lecture Theater 1 of the German Sport University. The whole week was embedded in a number of activities. We had scientific symposia where participants of the Science Slam World Cup could meet up with young and established researchers of the German Sport University. And I think a number of ideas and research collaborations have been born in this week. We had an excellent social program. We visited the European Astronaut Center and just this morning walked the rooftop of the Cologne Cathedral. Everyone immersed into a number of sporting activities and the Cologne Brewhouse tradition, of course. I think it was a hilarious week for all of us. And now it's a big final. During each of the pre-finals, 2 candidates got their way into the final, and tonight, one of you will leave this stage as a world champion. Before we start and before I introduce the 6 candidates to you, I would like to comment quickly on the idea of a science slam. You know, science in the recent month has met a tremendous challenge. We as scientists, we like to answer questions. We like to answer and give answers to societal challenges. And we know that it's very often important to dig really deep into a matter. And sometimes we realize there is not one answer, not one solution, but the answer and the solution depends on a number of different variables. In contrast, there have been voices lately in politics and in society that think they have leased the truth. In Deutsch die Wahrheit gepachtet. They ignore a scientific discussion and they ignore scientific facts. And I think we as scientists, we cannot leave the field without a battle. But I think we need to find ways to convince people by presenting facts, perhaps in an entertaining way. Let me give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, I was visited by the Jehovah's Witnesses. 2 of them, they always come in pairs. Also die Zeugen Jehovas standen bei mir vor der Tür. You know about Jehovah's Witnesses, yeah? Yeah, they're kind of the Christian version of an Islamic terrorist without bombs. They know. They know that everything that is written in the Bible is fact. It's the holy word of God, that's fact. There's no room for discussion, no sublines, no subtext, no room for interpretation. This is fact. And in general, as a scientist, you're interested in a discussion, but your motivation to talk to these people is very limited because, you always run against the wall. But then there are these days when you wake up in the morning and this is going to be my day. And that was one of these days. So I opened the door, saw the 2 witnesses of Jehovah standing there, reacted immediately and said, "Welcome, nice to meet you. I've been waiting for you. Come in, please." Yeah, they turned around and wanted to walk away. And I said, no, wait. And I pulled them into my flat. It's a weird story, yes? I pulled the Jehovah's Witnesses into my flat. So we sat down, had a couple of coffee and some cookies. And then at some stage, da ist mir die Hutschnur geplatzt. For our international guests, this is a very specific German term and it's hard to translate. I think you need to learn that. Da ist mir die Hutschnur geplatzt. Something like I was completely pissed off. And then I confronted them with a very central line of the Old Testament. And I'm pretty sure you all know about this very central line. It's one of the most important texts you will find in the Holy Bible. It's written in the 3rd book of Moses, Leviticus, chapter 14, line 22, where it is said that a rabbit is a ruminant. Der Hase sei ein Wiederkäuer. He chokes up after eating and re-eats. And as an experimental scientist, I went to the garden, got the rabbit of my kids, placed it in between us on the table. Then we gave him a couple of carrots, which he appreciated. And then we waited for the rabbit to choke up the carrots. It was a long night. And then they left. I'm not sure whether I convinced them, but at least I think they started to think about their facts. And I think, and I hope that this is happening tonight, that you will see some new facts presented in a creative and entertaining way, and you carry these facts with you, and in the best case, as one of our slammers said, have a better life. Now, it's time to welcome the 6 candidates who will play the final on this stage. And it's my pleasure to welcome you here. The first one who come up will be Samuel Asmare from Addis Ababa University in Ethiopia. Samuel. Tonight we will have on this stage from Griffith University in Australia, Michael Simmons. From Groningen University in the Netherlands, Laura Kuipers. A team from the University of Leipzig and the German Sport University Cologne, Lisa Musculus und Franziska Lautenbach. From Loughborough University in the UK, but with an Irish nationality, Kate O'Keefe. Welcome. And from the German Sport University, Jan Oliver Quittmann. We have not yet decided. We have not yet decided on an order of appearance. We're not knowing yet who's coming first, second, and third. For this, I have prepared a lottery wheel. And we will pick now the order of appearance. And this is an important job. And this needs a very reliable person. And I'm pretty sure that all of you would like to do this job. But there can be only one who can do it. And I have prepared a second lottery wheel. And I will now pick the lucky winner. It's an exciting moment for all of us. Victoria Fernandes, are you here? Where is she? There she is, Victoria. Victoria, please, come up. And I can see you're not alone. God is with you. Victoria, how do you feel? This must be an exciting moment. You know, everyone wanted to do this job, and you have been picked. How do you feel? Very good, yes. Okay, now it's up to you. There are 6 names in here. You pick the first. Would you like to read it? Or should I do it? Michael Simmons. Michael, you will be the first. Michael, can I ask you to get up to the technician to get set up already? Thank you very much. The second one tonight will be Samuel. You're the second one. Number 3. Before we have the break, we will see Laura Kuipers. Laura. And after the break, we will have Kate. And Oliver Jan Quittmann will be number 5. And another exciting moment for all of us. Who will be the final presenter tonight? The team, Lisa Musculus and Franziska Lautenbach. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you here. Sit down again. Okay. You two, go up and get your headsets. The others can relax. Sit down again. And I'll wait for a signal if Michael is ready. Are you? Perfect. So let me get this in order. And then, Michael, it's up to you. The floor is yours. Enjoy the research story of Michael Simmons.
Hello, Cologne. Good night. I'm about to leave. I'm a little bit nervous in this beautiful auditorium. I come all the way from Australia, and some of you will probably know quite a lot about Australia. I know it's a very popular backpacking destination for many of your country folk. I think I want to start, before I get into the talk, on something, and I'll just give you a little bit of background to my topic. It's going to be dealing with breaking apart and also with delivery. And the reason I want to set this up, it's a slightly different talk to Tuesday night because I thought we need to keep it spicy. So what's a really good topic when it comes to breaking apart? Can anyone think of anything to do with this map? Well done, Brexit. So is anyone here from Europe? Can I see your hands? Quite a few. Okay, I want to really thank you right now from the bottom of my heart. And the reason for this is that, as we know, you've kind of got the appetite whet, or you've basically got the British interested in looking at new endeavors or new ways of doing things. Now, coming from Australia, how does this have anything to do with my continent? Well, you might see something interesting about my flag. 25% of it is taken up by the British. That's not right. So, thank you. I think it's about time we start exploring something similar in my country, where we might be able to look at a new design of the flag and you think, 25%, what could I do with all of that? It's kind of exciting. But then, actually, has anyone ever seen Border Force? There's a TV show out here. I'm sorry, Your Majesty, the smiley face means that I'm joking, okay? So, no offense intended. So I do want to give you some background. We've talked about breaking apart. Okay, it could be new for a potential republic in Australia. I also want to talk about delivery. Now, I want to take you back 200-300 years in England. They really loved handkerchiefs. People in Ireland, people in Scotland, they didn't really have many. And the problem was, if you'd have a beer in in Ireland, or you had your haggis in Scotland, you had nothing to wipe your face or hands with. And so what they'd do, they'd go to England, they'd start to grab some handkerchiefs, and the problem was they got kind of fed up with that. The English don't really play those games. And so what they did was put the criminals on boats. And they basically sent around the world to deliver these criminals to a new place. They went to Tahiti, it was too beautiful. You cannot send prisoners to a paradise. They went to New Zealand, and even the British have a soul. They would not send the criminals to New Zealand. So they ended up in my continent. And guess what? We now have the biggest jail on earth. We have a continent full of criminals. And to give one back to the New Zealanders, I learned a really cool joke from New Zealand. Why do Australians play golf and cricket? Because you can do it. Now, the point is, what happens when deliveries go bad? We send all these people across the world. Well, I want to talk about that in the human body, okay, like when deliveries go bad. We know about the heart, the circulatory system, and blood, okay, and we know that we need to deliver oxygen around the body. I hope to give you a little bit of insights into delivery tonight and also breaking apart in the context of my research. Okay, I don't really focus too much on the heart and the vessels, but I really care about these guys, red blood cells. There's over 20 trillion of them in your body, and they transport oxygen to every single tissue. Now, there's about 25 Kölsch glasses or 10 pints of beer in your blood, of blood in your body. Depends if you're Kölsch or Australian. There's a lot of alcohol in your blood. But effectively, I want to give you some really cool take-home messages tonight. We're probably really familiar with transport of oxygen via blood, but there are two cool things I want you to learn tonight. The behavior of blood really influences delivery of oxygen. The first behavior is how blood cells behave. Do you know that red blood cells clump together? They actually do this to make it easier for the blood to flow through your blood vessels. But that becomes a challenge when you get down to little, tiny blood vessels. Okay, so this is like getting off the Autobahn. You know how when you want to slide out off the Autobahn, you kind of clump together. It's very hard for your car to get into the side streets. And the same thing happens in the body. And so this property of cell clumping is effectively one of the behaviors that dictate blood flow. Now, in you and I, we can actually stress the cells apart or mechanically agitate the cells, so effectively the cells can get through smaller side streets. But I want you to be aware that too much of this clumping leads to bad deliveries, okay? This can be a problem. Another really cool behavior, the second thing I want you to learn tonight, is that we actually have really dynamic red blood cells. Unlike the videos you see on YouTube or what you read in your textbook, red cells are mechanically active. Really fancy word, but effectively what it means is they're squishy. Okay, so if you got a basketball and squished it, it doesn't really change its shape. Red blood cells, they're really stretchy and dynamic. It's like a water bomb or a balloon. And so the cool thing is, Pixar's not giving me a job tonight. Unfortunately, my animations are a little bit shabby in Australian terms. Effectively, these red cells can squeeze into little tubes smaller than the cell itself. It's really beautiful. Now, the problem is, if cells don't change shape effectively, they actually can lead to these misdeliveries. So these two behaviors, too much clumping, bad. Cells become rigid, also bad. Where does this actually apply? Actually, in most chronic diseases. Okay, so if we have heart attacks, it's typically associated with impaired oxygen delivery to your tissues. It can happen in the kidneys as well, and also the brain. So chronic kidney disease, also stroke. How does my research actually relate to this, though? Well, the really cool way that surgeons can deal with heart problems is through surgery, okay? And that's been done on the back of some fantastic engineering, okay? We actually have devices that can do the work of the heart and the lungs during surgery to keep the rest of your body alive during a surgery. But they're artificial. That's not ideal. What happens is to keep the blood oxygenated, the blood can actually leave the body and basically it's circulated into an artificial lung, which then goes into a mechanical pump, pretty much like a blender, and the blood gets then pushed back into the body so that the surgeon can work on the heart without it beating. All right, interesting stuff, whatever. But the problem with this is the forces inside of these artificial organs can actually lead to cells breaking apart, okay? That's the Brexit line. Now, you guys should know that engineers are really clever people, and they've eliminated this in current generations. But the problem is, and it's still there, we see less than 10% success within 12 months, okay? People die early, or they basically have multiple other complications. And so we've been looking at other behavioral changes in the blood that might explain it. I gave a secret away on Tuesday night, and it was that I'm a bit of a gaming nerd. Me and my kids, we love to play games. The next one is I actually always root for the baddie in games, okay? So that's something a little bit fresh tonight. One of the games that we like to play is a transport game, okay? We actually deliver a cart around a track. It's like going around the human body. And one of the cool things in this game is that a huge force comes from the sky occasionally and will squish your car. How is that relevant to a talk about science? Well, it's just what we think is going on when blood goes through artificial devices. The forces act on the blood and potentially make the cells clump together too much, or actually change their capacity to change their shape. And this might lead to some of the misdeliveries or the bad outcomes of surgery. So what are we doing about it? It's cool to know or have these hypotheses. How do we address it? Going to get a little bit deep on why we know that blood cells clump together. Do you know your red cells, they actually try to stop this from happening by having proteins that are negatively charged on their coating. And as a result, if they get close to each other, it's like having two magnets aligned with the similar polarity. Now the thing is, in a normal healthy cell, they push each other apart. They don't clump too much. But one of my great graduate students back in Australia has been doing fantastic research into this. He's demonstrated that the mechanical forces within artificial organs Okay? Basically come and take some of the negative charge away from these cells, and it results in the cells clumping together more. This might explain some of the missed deliveries that go on during surgery. In addition to that, we've done some fantastic work with an international partner in Los Angeles, and we've been exploring how tolerant are cells to the forces inside mechanical devices. And we've demonstrated that down in the low range, basically the forces that are typical of your own circulatory system, cells, they stay happy. Unfortunately, what happens when we get cells stressed or too much force, about 2 or 3 times above normal, they actually become unhappy. Now, this is really interesting stuff, because if we take the cells out of that stressful, forceful environment, they actually go back to their normal function. This is a really unusual observation. But, and this is the clincher, once we extend the forces up to about 6 times above normal, we actually see that the cells are no longer happy. They don't return back to normal function. And this is really new information. Engineers, they never actually were too concerned with the device design with respect to whether the cells function or not. They just cared whether they were broken apart or whether they were present. And so we're using this information right now, and this is really exciting data to us. This is real vision from inside of someone's microcirculation, the very small tubes of the body. And right now in surgery, we're actually exploring whether the cells do lose their capacity to change shape and whether they clump together too much. And so we're doing this with a medical team and an engineering team, and us as scientists, we feel like we're the great glue between these two disciplines. So on a final note, I want to leave you with a really cool aim of our research team. And it's not just me, it's not just my grad students, it's a really awesome team. We're actually working to really improve deliveries during surgery, and hopefully we can actually improve the medical devices that assist surgeons when they're doing cardiothoracic interventions. So on that, I am really grateful for you taking the time to come out on a Saturday night, and I hope the best for the rest of the guys. Good luck. Thanks, Stefan.
Michael Simmons. Thanks for the Australian introduction. During the pre-final, you said that you were 60% British. Now, mathematically, how can you be 60% British? We know that the British have problems with numbers and facts, but 60 seems to be really odd.
I think the Germans don't have great memories. I think it was 40% from memory.
Touché. Michael Simmons. Our second presentation for tonight comes from Addis Ababa University in Ethiopia. This is the stage now for Samuel.
Hello. Alles good? Thank you so much for coming here. I'm really pleased to be here with you. It's really nice actually today. So much light. I want to thank the JSU and the light engineer as well. So is it working? I am technology migrant, that's why maybe. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, my name is Samuel Sleshe and I am from, not Ethiopia actually, from the equator. I came from there. Because Ethiopia is found just above from the equator. We usually, this is where we usually turn the sun. So maybe just in case. We have 30 months of sunshine. Have you heard about that? It's not 12. We have 13 months of sunshine, but 12 months of salary. I don't know why. Governments. Today, it was Matthew who was supposed to be here, but because of some romantic issues, he will not be here. So I'm very much glad to be here at his position. Thanks. So I'm playing for Matthew as well. Actually, I'm not sure that she's his girlfriend, but just, yeah, I got it from Facebook. That's why. I don't know. Just sorry, Matthew. I hate titles. It's too serious. My title is it's about the socio-economic status and cognitive functioning. Only two words. The basic words are these two words. So it has been conducting a research so many times in different countries, in different demographic groups. So we have been inspired to do it back home and try to do basic research on our students. This is from the literature review, actually. Usually, we do research very simply. We don't need such fancy stuff. Yeah, we love simplicity, that's why. By the way, there are two types of research methods in the world. The first one is, the first method is a professor, doctor method. And the second one is, it's a Mr. method, my method, yeah. I do very differently research, that's why. There are three basic differences in these two research methods. As you can see, the difference is quite visible, right? Our photographer, Marvin, he was suffering a lot in adjusting the lights, the color balances, you see. It was really tough for him. Sorry, Marvin. So, maybe the second difference is professor, doctor researchers, they love such fancy stuff, technology, numbers. We do differently. We use only natural paper and pencil. Done. You write, then solve it. Just nothing else. The basic difference that exists between these two methods is this. They have so much statistics, terminologies. You know why? They confuse you first. They confuse you a lot. Like this, they bombard you. Then finally, statistically significant. Then, I can imagine. My worry is maybe today's Islam might be analyzed through these statistics procedures. Maybe, who knows? They love it. Imagine that the moderator will be back here in an hour and going to read who won the slam. Imagine that. Dear Mr. Science Slammer Samuel Sleshi, it's great to see you here, but you are 2 standards below the norm. The jury would never make a normality assumption about you. Your 2 presentations were in a non-linear pattern with full of outliers and effect size. I expect this today. We have checked the kurtosis and skewness of your presentation, and it is way out from the range. However, the alpha value for your presentation was found to be less than 0.05. It is statistically significantly you are entertaining and you have won. It doesn't make sense. Are you going to do that? I don't know. We do research very simply. For example, there are two dimensions of socioeconomic status: appetite and food, nothing else. It's not about car, it's not about money, it's not about whatever it is. It's only if you have appetite and if you have food like that. Some of you might be here, you might have low appetite but too much food in your refrigerator, so that you are an upper class person. I love low appetite and high food. Or you might be here, you have a high appetite but no food at all. So social classes can be defined into two. Like then, I can provide an evidence.
I don't want to eat them ever again.
Oh. Do you think, so what will you eat instead?
I will eat whatever there's on the table, but not chicken or meat.
Why do you think you don't want to do that?
Because they're animals and I like animals.
She has chicken on the table, but she don't have the appetite. That's one part. Another story. You have the appetite, but you don't have the chicken. We have only two classes, nothing in between. We are done with the, what do you call it, this, the socioeconomic status. The second one is cognitive functioning. In order to test our students with cognitive functioning tests, we designed three tests: numeric reasoning test, diagrammatic reasoning, and verbal reasoning tests. You can try some. For example, anyone who can give me an answer? Yeah. Are you from the laugh group or the half group? You should have to answer it by now. Anyone? Okay, see the answer. What about this one? What about? Anyone, please? No one? Okay. The answer is 5. Oh my God. What about this one? Now. Okay, I can feel you. It's in my language, so. Actually, our finding was we divided the students into two groups. Like, the first group is the laugh group, and the second group is the half group. This is the higher class and the upper class. And we gave them some the activities during enrollment of the university and 6 months after the enrollment of the university. And their total cognitive functioning was like, for it was based on the research, the laugh group have a higher score, whereas the, what do you call this, the half group was like below the standards. What matters a lot is not comparing the two scenarios. It's not comparing the two social groups. It's all about, is there any development in 6 months for the lower status groups? Yeah, it wasn't significantly found that there was a significant difference within 6 months of time. I have tried to focus on the football aspect. So cognitive skill to be successful in football, cognitive functioning is mandatory. It's everywhere. If you lack such kinds of aspects, it will be so tough to win games. I think that's why we African nations so many times fail from the World Cup. For example, this year, on the 2018 World Cup, 5 nations from Africa participated, but no one make it to the round stage. And I don't know why. Okay.
Yesterday was the final match of the 2018 FIFA World Cup, and it was très bien.
The champagne is flowing in France. The French squad overpowering underdog Croatia 4-2 to earn their second World Cup championship.
French President Emmanuel Macron was jubilant in the stands, to say the least.
Tens of thousands of soccer fans partied well into the night along the Champs-Élysées.
Yes! Yes, I'm so excited. Africa won the World Cup. 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 I mean, look, I get it. They have to say it's the French team, but look at those guys, huh? Look at those guys. You don't get that tan by hanging out in the south of France, my friends. Basically, if you don't understand, France is Africa's backup team, right? Once Senegal and Nigeria got knocked out, that's who we root for.
So, I always loves to connect everything to football, that's why. The moral story from this research is, in order to win football championship, I think it's first to nurture the society, educate students, avoid grossing status, like giving better education for the nation. Then finally, maybe we can make it to the World Cup next round. Thank you so much.
Samuel. Come back. There's something open I'd like to discuss with you.
No, it's better than. Thanks so much.
Samuel, you showed that during the Russia World Cup, no African country got to the knockout stage.
Yep. They knocked
This
out.
sounds very much like the German story of the 2018 World Cup. So as a soccer coach, what is your advice to the Germans?
It will be really tough to advise Germans regarding football, I think. Someone who come from East Africa, like coaching Germans, it doesn't make sense, I think.
You mean more methods?
It's like beyond me.
Samuel, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Samuel! Now we welcome the third presentation of this Science Slam World Cup. Before the break, we will hear from our neighboring country, the Netherlands, Laura Kuipers.
So, welcome everyone. My name is Laura Kuipers, and as Stefan said, I've come a long way all from the Netherlands. It was a 6-hour train ride. Was good, yeah. So today I want to tell you about anti-phase rowing. And it's not the rowing you're used to see on the television. It's actually a new way to move the board forward. But before I start with that, I want to show you a bit of very nice footage of the German men's 8 winning gold at the London Olympics final. So what I love so much about rowing, because I'm a rower myself, is the fact that it allows you to really move very well with someone else until the point that it's not longer clear where your part is or the other's part. You really become one system, one team. And I think it's just beautifully, especially at this level, if you can move and adjust your movements so well to each other that it really looks like one team. I'll show it again. We know that these are 8 individual rowers, but when we look at them, it's really one system moving, and I think that's really grand. So let's have a closer look to the rowing cycle. As you can see here, the rowing cycle consists of 2 phases. One phase is the propulsive phase, so they push the boat forward to accelerate it through the water. But then they have to return back to their former position, and this is called a recovery. They go back to make the next stroke. So this is what we're used to, right? These perfectly synchronized rowers. But it also poses a problem, because if you row like this, you only propel the boat forward in a small part of the cycle. And the other cycle, the velocity of the boat just drops again. So as you can see here, the boat doesn't go fluently through the water, but it accelerates and decelerates, and this is actually a waste, because the power to overcome the drag of the water is related to the velocity of the boat to the third. Now, what does this mean? This means that you need 8 times the amount of power to make the boat go twice as fast. So what we need here is to make the boat fluently through the water. And one of the ways to do that is the idea of antiphase rowing. Now, in antiphase rowing, the rowers do not synchronize their movements like this, but they alternate their strokes. And as a result, the boat is propelled continuously through the water. And another thing helping here is that the net center of mass of the rowers, which is shown in red, remains close to that of the boat, because the rowers move towards each other and then away from each other. And this together makes the velocity of the boat not go like this, with fluctuations, but fluently through the water. And this may, in theory, make the boat go 3 to 10 seconds faster on a 2K race. Now let that sink in, because these Olympic finals are won within tenths or hundredths of a second. But yeah, you might question, so why then don't we row in antiphase if it goes faster in theory? Now, one of the reasons is that rowers think it might be too difficult. And they actually might be right. Because from coordination dynamics, we know that if you move in an antiphase pattern, doesn't matter what kind of movement, if you increase the frequency, you might transition back to in phase because it's more stable. And in order to experience that, I would like to invite you for a small experiment. So please come all stand. Okay, we're all collectively going to move in antiphase here. So put your hands up. And first close your right hand. Then your left, right, left. Okay, going pretty well. Excellent, you're moving in antiphase. But now see, can you increase the frequency? Go faster. Even faster, as fast as you can. Come on, German Sporthochschule, let me see. All right, now look at your hands. Most of you will by now have shifted to in phase, so not moving alternately, but moving at the same time. Closing the hands, opening them at the same time. Okay, you might sit again. This was the experimental part. So now you can imagine, you're laying there in the Olympic finals, it's the race of your life, and you're going to row in antiphase, and well, let's hope it goes well, because we really go at a high speed, and, if coordination breaks down, you lose. It's all for nothing. So we need to make sure that these rowers are able to row in antiphase at very high stroke rates. Now, we started testing that in the lab on the ergometer. So here you see 2 rowers rowing on ergometers that are connected to each other. So it's like they're rowing in the same boat, moving back and forth with respect to the ground, as if they would with respect to the water. And what we found out is that rowers are actually very well able to row in antiphase, even at these high stroke rates. So that's good news, right? First step. But what about on the water? Because there, it might be way more difficult, because you have the water, and you have the wind, there might be a wave hitting your blade. So next, we went to the water, and we tried the antiphase rowing on water. Now, as you can see, this is a bit a larger boat. It's a 4-person boat because we needed more space for the oars, the things they row with, not to collide. And what they showed is that even though it's the very first time they try it, they can do it. And that was actually beyond my expectation as well. Okay, so technically they can do it, right? They can do the movement. But does this now also really result in less velocity fluctuations of the boat? Well, good news is it does. I have one graph in my presentation and I'm very happy to show it to you. So here we have the lower stroke rate of 20 strokes per minute and the higher stroke rate of 30. And this is more or less compared to racing. In blue you see the in-phase, so the normal synchronized rowing. In green you see the anti-phase, the alternating rowing. And what you can clearly see here is that especially at the 30 strokes per minute, so the race speed, anti-phase velocity fluctuations are way lower than in-phase fluctuations. So with this, we confirm that the theoretical idea of anti-phase rowing indeed results to less velocity fluctuations of the boat. Is it then all good news? Not yet, I would say. Because the point of having less velocity fluctuations is to go faster, right? And so far, these rowers have not been able to go faster yet. But there was a World Cup couple, they tried it, they participated in my experiment, and they only had a 4-second difference between in and anti-phase. And this was the very first time they tried it. They've been rowing for 10 years in in-phase. First try, only 4 seconds slower. So I personally believe, even though I started out as a skeptical rower, that anti-phase may still go faster. And I would really love to investigate this further and to do a training study to see if we can get them better and actually let them go faster. Thank you for your attention.
Laura Küppers from Groningen University. Laura, you challenged us with that phase and anti-phase stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a challenge for you.
Oh, God.
Stand like this, and you all can join if you like. Put out your thumb on your left hand and your little finger on your right hand.
Oh, no.
Yeah? And now we do this in phase.
Ah.
Yeah, it's like her rowers. She's doing it for the very first time, and we all think she will improve on that.
I'm doing it. It's working.
No, not like me, look. Oh, I'm confused.
Ah.
Laura, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was the first half of the Science Lab World Cup final. You're now invited to have some refreshments in the lobby before we proceed with the next 3 slammers. And perhaps during your walking out or having a refreshment, start already thinking about who so far has been your favorite presentation, because it's up to you. Tonight it's the audience vote. You will get some ping pong balls at the end of the slam, and then you can vote in this Kölsch classes XXL who will be the world champion. See you back in 15 minutes. Enjoy your refreshments. So it's a little bit like lecturing at the German Sport University. People drop in, by and by. Why are you late? Yes, you. I said 15 minutes. That's far over. Oh, the professor is not yet here. That's why she was late. Okay, so we are going to the second half of the Science Slam World Cup. 3 more slammers, and then there will be a big voting. And as I said before, the audience will participate in the votes. As during the pre-finals, those of you who have been with us, you will get a ping pong ball. And then you can decide which was your favorite presentation by putting the ping pong ball in the individual coach class. Tonight, each of one will get only 1 ping pong ball. During the pre-finals, it were 2. But tonight, we have a jury with us. And the jury's vote will be your second ping pong ball. We have 6 people in the jury, and each of them will get 50 ping pong balls. So we have an audience of 326 in here. That means the audience vote is a little bit higher. But still, we can have tremendous challenges over the voting. It is my pleasure now to introduce the jury to you so that you know who that is. And we really appreciate your time this evening, that you're here joining us in the Science Slam World Cup. It's my pleasure that Professor Silvia Heuchemer, she's Vice President teaching at the University of Applied Science here in Cologne, is here with us tonight. Thank you very much. We have from the Cologne University of Music and Dance, their Provost or Chancellor, Marion Steffen. Thank you very much for being with us. From the University of Cologne, their Vice President for Gender Equality and Diversity, Professor Manuela Günther. We have with us tonight in the jury Dr. Gernot Gatt. He's a Program Director of International Affairs at the German Research Foundation. He gave the money. We have with us Dr. Bettina Rulofs. She's Vice President for Transfer and Communication Management at the German Sport University. And finally, the President of the German Sport University, Professor Heiko Strüder. Because we have 2 persons from the German Sport University of Cologne, I will not handle the ping pong balls right now. Because if you give sports students or anyone attached to sports students balls, they will start to play with it. And we can't afford this right now. If you are thinking about the different presentations and what to judge for, I would strongly recommend to judge for creativity, for presentation style, and for scientific content. I think that makes a good mixture. Now tonight we have a number of PhD students with us. Not only here on the stage, but also in the audience. And I know at the end of your PhD studies you always, or sometimes, struggle. Because you look back on what you did and then you start asking yourself, how did that contribute to the world of science? How did that, what I did, contribute to the world of knowledge? And sometimes you realize it's just a tiny little bit that was added. But I would like to encourage you, sometimes this tiny little bit that you add will make a significant difference. I have an example for you. Imagine a kid's birthday party. At least in Germany, it's common sense that the guests who have been invited to a kid's birthday party, before they leave, they get a small present. Normally, this is some sweets and some balloons. But now you're one of these helicopter parents, you know. And you really want to make an impression on these kids that have been the guests of your son or your daughter. They should go home and tell everyone, this was a hilarious party and we got this really cool present. So you search the web and you came up with an idea. You combine sweets and a balloon. And I can show you how to do that. Whew. Hard stuff. There's a balloon, and there are some sweets. So you combine sweets and a balloon. But now you really search the web. But the longer you look at that dog with that sweet in its stomach, you realize no. The kids, when they go home, they will be disappointed, you know. Every clown, every cheap street performer can do a dog. A dog is nothing. Now, they will be really disappointed. But then you realize, well, I'm a scientist. And just yesterday, we had this famous stuff, the scientific consumables delivered to the lab. And this helps you to save your kid's birthday party. Because this little part of science helps you to transform a single dog into a cow. You know, it's very, very simple. And actually, the cow is a ruminant. You could use that for scientific explanations. So I would encourage you, even if it's a little part that you add to the world of knowledge, it might be ending up as a significant part. Now, let's proceed with the next slammer. Female slammer. In German, we would say slammerin. From Loughborough University in UK, Kate O'Keefe. It's up to you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Kate O'Keefe from Loughborough University in the United Kingdom, but actually I'm from Ireland. And today I'm here to talk to you about my research, which is on combined stressors in extreme environments. So, my research is on combined stressors, and the two stressors that I'm most interested in are mental fatigue and hypoxia, which is also known as low oxygen. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to tell you all about mental fatigue, then I'm going to tell you all about hypoxia, and then I'm going to tell you about my latest research. So, stressor 1, mental fatigue. Have you ever felt like you're spreading yourself too thin? Or have an apparent loss of focus? Are you finding yourself trying to hide from life? Feeling negative? Or have a mental fogginess that just won't blow over? Is it affecting your work? Then you may have a case of mental fatigue. Hypoxia, stressor 2, or low oxygen. When we go to high altitude, we're subject to experiencing stressors like cold, solar radiation, and hypoxia, also known as the lack of oxygen to the body. We already know from previous research that hypoxia affects negatively both cognitive performance and physical performance. So what's my aim then? The aim of my research is to explore the impact of both mental fatigue and hypoxia on physical and cognitive performance. And why am I doing this? Well, to inform people who work at high altitude, like high altitude mountaineers, rescue teams who have to rescue at high altitude, and people like the army. So, what did I do? In the Environmental Ergonomics Laboratory in the United Kingdom, we have a beautiful environmental chamber that simulates hypoxia or low oxygen already. So that's sorted. But how did I induce mental fatigue then? Well, let me show you. So we use a test called the T-load-D-back test. And this test is a dual task test, which means that you do 2 tasks at the same time. So instead of me explaining to you in words, I'm going to need you all to just stand up and we're going to act it out. So we're going to do task 1 first, then we're going to do task 2, and then we're going to combine both to make the T-load-D-back test. So on my right, you have task 1, which is letters. So all I want you to do is, every time the same letter appears in a row, I want you to do the wiggle. Can you show me what you're going to do? The wiggle. So what do you do when 2 letters appear in a row? We wiggle. Are you ready? Yes. All right, let's go. You nervous? Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Good. Well done, everybody. Good job. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Yes, that's it. Okay, that's task 1. Task 2. Task 2 is with numbers, sorry. So every time you see an even number, I want you to raise your right hand. And every time you see an odd number, I want you to raise your left hand. So what do you do when you see an even number? And an odd number? Are we ready? Yes. Let's go. Good down the back. Oh. Oh, your mothers would be so proud. Well done. Yes. Good job. Well done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to combine both of those tasks together. But you have to be careful because it's going to be letter, number, letter, number. So you have to remember those letters. So what do you do when you see the same letter appear twice in a row? We wiggle. When we see an even number, an odd number, right. Are we ready? Yes. Let's go. Come on. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Come on, keep those hands in. Good. Yes, well done. Brilliant. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Well done, everybody. You can sit down. So that was the combined T-load-D-back test, and that's what participants did for 16 minutes in my study. So, who found that hard? Who found that easy? The reason why there is differences in your abilities is due to a little thing that we like to call individualization. But what is individualization? On the right, we have Lee. She is a fish. On the left, we have Yasmin. She's a squirrel. I'm going to tell these 2 creatures to climb this tree. In 3, 2, 1, go. But what do we learn from this? Like all of us have different physical abilities, we also have different cognitive abilities, which means that we can process information at different speeds, which is why people with higher processing speeds had the test at a higher speed, and people with lower processing speeds had the test at a lower speed. So what's the moral of this story? Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. Albert Einstein. Okay, moving on. So what were my methods then? I had 2 conditions at sea level with and without mental fatigue. I had 2 conditions at moderate altitude with and without mental fatigue. And I had 2 conditions at high altitude with and without mental fatigue. For all the conditions with mental fatigue, participants sat here for 16 minutes doing that combined test you just did. And in every condition, we had a 15-minute maximal exertion on an arm bike that looked exactly like this. Then, after that, they did a 60 seconds maximal voluntary contraction of their bicep. And then, just when they were about to die, we decided to give them a little cognitive test to end it off. So, what were my results then? First, I had to see if mental fatigue was actually induced. And to do this, we looked at the accuracy of the test. So, everyone started off with 100%. And by the end of the test, they were all below 80%, which means that objectively, mental fatigue was induced. And subjectively, people also rated higher mental fatigue and confusion both tests. So overall, we were able to conclude that yes, mental fatigue was induced. So what did this do on my results then? So on my physical performance, we saw that yes, hypoxia did impact physical performance and mental fatigue had no impact. And the exact same for cognitive performance. Hypoxia did decrease cognitive performance overall and mental fatigue had no impact. So I'm like, why did mental fatigue had no impact? So I wasn't convinced. So I decided that I would bring myself to the Himalayas in northern India to run the highest marathon on earth in 13% oxygen. The night before, I carb loaded, and the morning of, I induced mental fatigue by reading this really boring book on statistics. I looked a bit like this.
All the way from Ireland, just for the Ladakh marathon. I mean, amazing. How do you do this, Kate?
I don't know. I had too much to drink and I booked it.
Okay, that's a good way of putting it.
I'm telling you. So what did I learn from this? 1, I need to train. 2, mental fatigue is a transient state that can be overcome. And 3, I definitely need to stop drinking. So is there a fix for mental fatigue? I decided to ask my little friends in the Himalayas who live at high altitude every day and experience mental fatigue in school. And they told me what they do.
What do you do when you become mentally tired?
We nap.
What do you do when you become mentally tired?
We get away.
What do you do when you become mentally tired?
We get away.
What do you do when you become mentally tired?
We do something else.
So if you ever do feel any symptoms of mental fatigue, you can obviously take my little kittie's advice. But what we're going to do now is just to get rid of any mental fatigue that you may be experiencing after this long day of presentations, we're going to do something else to get rid of those negative effects. And what that something else is I am going to pay tribute to Cologne for keeping us and all my fellow slammers here this week. And I am going to do what I do best, and that is Irish dance to the national anthem, the anthem of FC Cologne. Right, just wait for it. Okay. Whoa. Excuse me, hold on. What is this? This sounds a bit like an Irish folk song with German words attached. Therefore, I can't really dance, can I? Instead, what I'm going to do is take out my folk instrument, which is the tin whistle, and I'm going to play it for you instead. So what I want you to do is stay seated. These are the words of the anthem I'm about to play. You're just going to go along with the words, and for all my international friends, just make up the words if you don't know the German. And here we go. It's my instrument. I'll bring you in with this, okay? Oh, wait. I'll bring you in. That was for me, and I started badly. Okay, right. Go. Thank you. Thank you.
Kate O'Keefe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kate,
Yeah.
when I compare your performance on the flute
My Irish dancing.
and your scientific performance, I would strongly suggest to go back to the lab. Thank you very much.
I was just
Kate.
paying tribute.
Well, well, as Samuel presented, I have a number of titles, and this is because I always wanted to play the guitar. And my mom told me, no, go to the lab. It's definitely better. Now we have the next slammer here. And he is from the German Sport University of Cologne. And I'm happy to welcome now on the floor Oliver Jan Quidman. Here he is.
Just try to fix the stage. Okay. So my field of research is actually rather small and not really prestigious, at least not yet. So what makes me go to work every day anyway? My motivation is based on the people I'm working with. Exactly 4 years ago, when I just started my work here at the Institute of Movement and Neurosciences, someone came to our lab that, at least in parts, changed my life forever. His name is Benjamin Lennartz. Benjamin was infected by his wife with a serious virus. A virus I still have to suffer from too. This virus is called triathlon. So Benjamin came to us and asked me if I want to be his coach. I mean, I had experience in triathlon as an athlete and as a coach too, but I didn't have a single clue about triathlon for wheelchair users. So consequently, I had to say, of course. Because I was so fascinated. Let me get this straight. He is using a wheelchair, and instead of feeling bad about his life, he comes up with the idea, I want to do triathlon. I really tried to put myself into his position and understand his powerful attitude. And I figured out that the best way to express this situation of being in a miserable mood and getting out of it even stronger is playing the blues. Once I was walking and running around, and it's still shocking that my life turned upside down. I'm feeling blue. So much new I wanna do. I can't do this, I need help for that, but I don't want to miss, 'cause today is my comeback. I'm changing the view. So much new I want to do. Even though I'm facing the pity, my life's gonna be pretty. So as his new coach, we did some tests and figured out that his greatest potential for improvement lies in the second discipline, which is called hand cycling. In hand cycling, the athletes propel their vehicle, which is called a hand cycle or hand bike, by the power of their arms. This is due to the fact that the athletes either have a spinal cord injury or an amputation of their legs. And tonight, I invite you to have a hand cycling experience yourself. And the only thing you need to do is to elevate your arms and think of a locomotive. Like this. What you do now is the common hand cycling propulsion movement. Now, I talked to several hand cycle athletes, and they told me that this movement pattern changes when they are fatigued or less accurate to this pattern with higher elbows. They have a certain name for this movement pattern. It is actually called the violinist. So you may have felt differences between these two patterns. And I wanted to know more about this sport, the movement and the muscles that are involved. But first, I had to figure out how performance is determined in hand cycling. As in other endurance events, the athletes need to cover a given distance in the shortest time possible. So in the end, it's all about movement velocity. The velocity of the athletes depends on some external factors, as for example, rolling resistance or aerodynamic drag, and internal factors of the athlete that merge in their ability to generate mechanical power. Mechanical power is the product of the force or torque that is applied on the handlebars. We call this kinetics, and the cadence of the cranks. But crank kinetics and mechanical power depend on the movement of the limbs of the upper extremities that are connected by joints. These are called joint kinematics. But where does the movement come from? Movements of the limbs are initiated and regulated by the activation of the joints surrounding muscles. So by knowing joint kinematics and muscular activity, you get a profound understanding of hand cycling propulsion movement and its underlying mechanics. But how can we investigate joint kinematics and muscular activity? Joint kinematics can be established using motion capturing systems and reflective markers that are placed on certain anatomical landmarks. With biomechanical models, we can calculate the joint angles between the segments, as for this model, the shoulder, elbow, and wrist. Muscles are activated by electrical signals that come from the spine. And these signals can be measured using electrodes that are placed on the skin. This method is called surface electromyography, or in short, EMG. Now, most of the previous studies examined head cycling at a rather moderate intensity. But the athletes need to sprint too, as for example at the start or finish of a race. So in the performance testing of hand cycle athletes, we commonly perform a 15-second all-out sprint test to determine their peak power output and glycolytic rate. In this study, quite funny, okay. So in this study, we examined the biomechanical changes from the first to the second half of the sprint to assess which of these joints is mostly affected and which muscles are firing the most. And this is what we found out. All in, all out, all right. I want to tell you a story that you might quite like. If else, well, there's a Paralympic sport I'm trying to sell. And for those who don't know what it is, I'm gonna spell H to the A to the N to the D, psych to the L, I N to the G. I'm in my PhD at GSUC, merging mocap, talking surface EMG. The question's all out. What's all that about? 50 seconds pain, cause the intensity's all out. From ground to the cloud, the sound is loud to tell the crowd what we found out without a doubt. During the sprint, shortly before they finish, a higher shoulder internal rotation is what we witnessed. Elbows went up and retroversion diminished, as if the subject's trying to mimic a violinist. Muscle activation was changed within the test in the push and try it. Delt, triceps in the chest. The muscles of the neck were hotly taking a rest. Very fine, what we have guessed, they are pretty stressed. In conclusion of the study, and this may sound rude, if the body's a cord, the shoulder gets sued. And out for the accused, that doesn't mean you're screwed, cause there's help to preventive exercise, my dude. You're cranking and you feel that your motion's getting rough. I may give you this hint, the push is kinda tough. Better get on the bench, you're just starting to cuff. So next time you push through, like a chip, lead out the bluff. But beware, here comes the other side of the medal. You cannot afford any overuse to settle. Elastic band, and not just weights of heavy metal, next level. Now let the devil grab the pedal. Whew, it took some air. Our findings indicate that some additional strength exercises might be beneficial for all-out hand cycling performance. However, the problem in wheelchair athletes is that their upper extremities are very prone to overuse injuries. Because whatever they do, they have to do it with their arms. And if their arms are feeling sore or injured, they get serious problems in daily living. So additional exercises have to be applied with great caution. And this is where we, the coaches in sports, come into play. Without the coaches in sports who dedicate their work and effort to these athletes, they will probably never achieve their full potential. So it's up to us. I know that you might feel insufficiently prepared for this, but as I see it, being infected by the same virus is way more important than having the same abilities. So allow yourself to be naive, to try something out you don't have a single clue about. And don't be afraid, this journey might change your life and the way you think about the term disability forever. It's all about the Benjamins. Thank you.
Oliver, yo man, quit man. Thank you very much. You can play the harp. You're a good scientist, but he's also very famous with numbers. So I have a task for you. There's a bus.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with 5 people.
Yes.
At the next stop, 3 get off. At the next stop, 7 get in. At the next stop, 2 get off and 1 get in. At the next stop, 5 get off. How often did the bus stop?
5 times.
Perfect. Olli,
Yo man, quit man.
So we're coming close to voting, but we have still one final presentation for you. And this is a team that made it to the final, and it's my pleasure to open the floor from the University of Leipzig and the German Sport University, Lisa Musculus und Franziska Lautenbach.
Thank you so much for having us here. For scientists, it's a unique situation to speak in front of so many people. So we're going to enjoy it as much as we can. As you have noticed, we walked in, we're going to talk about high fives. This is Lisa. In Cologne, we call her Lisbeth.
And this is Franzi.
And our colleagues, Jonna and Damian, are unfortunately not here today because Jonna is giving high fives to the future of scientists. And Damien is giving high fives to the future of teachers. Nevertheless, it is really important for us to let you know that we are a team, we consider ourselves as a team, and we worked together as a team. And that's how we came up with the idea. We were talking about psychology, sport, and we observed this phenomena, the high fives. You have all seen it, you have all done it. It's very intuitively. You gave us high fives. Thank you so much for that. We really appreciated it. And, usually athletes do it together with, but also Blanca. She does it before important high jumps by herself. So we're wondering, how did that? She does it very sexy, doesn't she? Yeah. And we're wondering how this all started. So we checked out some books. And we realized that there is actually a huge debate going on whether it started in baseball or basketball. Either way, it was in the 1960s. And it was another 20 years until the word high five actually made it into the Oxford English Dictionary. And another couple of years later, when the first National High Five Day in the United States was born. What's awesome about that day, you just basically go around and give high fives to all the people you see. That's what you do, all day, every day. I mean, that's amazing that there is a day for it, right? Yeah. So, Lisbeth, where were high fives born?
Franzi, that was in sports and not in porn, although there might be some movement similarities between the dynamics and power of porn movement and high fives. However, this would take us on the wrong way tonight. We will focus on the different forms of high five movements. So, as good researchers being educated at the GSU, we started with a very important resource first, and we checked out Wikipedia. And what we actually found is this kind of movement, which is called the down low. So it's kind of relaxing, you do it, it's easy. We do this in tennis. But we looked a bit further, we thought there might be more exciting movements, and we came across the air five. Yes, correctly, there's air in the middle, no extra clapping. And this looks kind of cool. You can do it after a dunk-in or so kind of cool movement. And there's another one that doesn't quite make me look so cool in a minute. So when you actually miss the too slow, and Franzi is an asshole because she even gives me the finger gun, so I feel real shit. And guys, sorry, you stop laughing because you've probably been looking that stupid before already. So, however, we weren't quite satisfied, and it took some time until we found the most beautiful movement you can think of, an upward dynamic high five. So this is awesome. And we asked ourselves, why? Why do athletes do that? Franzi, come on, did you even pay attention?
Yes, and there are some scientific facts I'd like to mention. We further checked, and we actually found that there is a potential health benefit when you do a high five instead of a handshake, because it is likely to spread less germs. So it makes a lot of sense that important people in this world give high fives. There is a new ruler in this world, this narcissistic, egocentric, weird guy in the US. We tried to find a picture of him doing a high five, and we swear to God, the only picture we were able to find was this one. So that also speaks volumes. Well, closer to what we were interested in, we came across this amazing study. Kids were asked to paint pictures, and then they were either giving a thumb up, a gesture, a verbally well done, or a high five. And as you can imagine, those kids were more motivated to continue to paint after the high five. So, Lisbeth, those results are impressive, don't you think?
Yes, Franzi, I agree, but we are still missing the theoretical link.
That is true.
So, based on embodied cognition, that's the theory we started with, you can actually predict that movements affect your brain and the other way around, that your brain also affects your movements. And this is actually why we sometimes looking a bit stupid doing this pantomime, because verbal input, like cognitively processed, and the movement might actually add to this. So based on this theoretical framework, we would predict that specific movements lead to specific psychological states and feelings. So for example, if we do an upward-directed high-five movement, this would lead to more positive feeling states and thoughts as compared to a low-down, a downwards movement. So, and this is what we did. So, Franzi, do you think, based on embodied cognition, we are now ready to go?
Lisbeth, with empirical evidence and theory, I do think so. So, is everybody paying attention? Amazing. Because this is what we did. We wanted to check out the psychophysiological effects of high fives in comparison to low fives in athletes. So, particularly, we wanted to know subjectively if a feeling of power or of motivation changed. And, you know, because sometimes people lie, we also wanted to check in their body if something is changing. And we figured out cortisol might be interesting, which is known as the stress hormone, and testosterone, which is known to be associated with dominance and power. What did we do? 34 participants came into our lab. It was within subject design, so once they did the high fives with themselves, and the other time they did the low five. It was a double-blind design, and not to get confused here, it does not mean that the participants are blind. I just want to see how long she's going to do it. No. The participants were blind. No, they were not, of course. They were just blind to the story of our research question. Who was also blind was the experimenter. So the experimenter did not know what the participants actually did, you know, when they were doing high fives and low fives. So we had to make sure that they didn't do anything funny, and that's why we videotaped them. And we brought you our most favorite video, and we would love to watch it with you. Those who have seen it, we are sorry, but we, you know, could watch it all day. Check him out. He's doing the high fives. Yes. And yeah.
True story.
Yeah. It's amazing to watch it all over again. So, Lisbeth, don't you think our design was sound?
Yes, I agree. And that's why I'm happy to tell the audience what we found. So, I think you can tell that we love our job and love doing research. However, there are these moments of bitter truth when the untuned data reveals null effects. And that's what happened to us. So, other than expected and predicted based on theory, we didn't find a difference between high fives and low fives, and no increase in subjective feelings of power or motivation, nor testosterone. However, luckily, and that's probably the reason we're standing here today, we found significant differences between high fives and low fives for cortisol. So, what does that actually mean? Objectively, there was a decrease in the stress hormone, which might mean that Bianca, before doing a high jump, she actually feels physiologically less stressed because of the decrease in cortisol. And I guess that might be quite important. So, Franzi, come on. Could you wrap this all up?
Yep. Thank you. That was our funniest part. So what do we do with the data? It's the first time that high fives, you know, we checked out high fives and the effects of them, so we need to be careful not to overanalyze or overthink that this is the real thing. It needs to be replicated. Nevertheless, we would say, do high fives. They're awesome. Do them with yourself. That's fine too. And they should not hurt, and they even might reduce stress. One practical tip, if you're not good at doing high fives, you focus on the elbow of the person you're doing it with. That usually helps. Yeah, you want to, yeah. There you go. See, always works. Yes. And what you can see now, we did it together, and of course, this is what also interests us, and we just finished a study where we actually checked out if the social interaction might have an effect, and we also wanted to know if it has practical implications, for example, for performance. And coincidentally, we are doing it with table tennis, so we brought you some balls, for the voting later.
It's not a lie. So
yeah.
we actually did a table tennis
Yeah.
study.
So, just let us know if you need some extra balls for the voting. Okay. Anyways, after Wednesday, we were so excited, and high fives are just amazing. And Elizabeth, don't you think they're just a fascination?
Yes, and that's why I think we should still think about practical implications.
Absolutely.
So, after Wednesday, we've already said that we couldn't believe everybody was so happy. All the slammers started to give us high fives all the time. And so, not only them, and we had already thought about the possibility to integrate high fives in so-called pre-performance routines. So what that is, you do a structured kind of sequence before a performance. For example, a table tennis serve. You could just breathe slowly, as Sylvain explained, or do a high five to physiologically relax. However, this could also have effects beyond sports, and this is why we are so happy to bring us an email an email conversation with one of our funding parties. So it also goes beyond sports to politics, that people actually start doing high fives before their talks. So you see here that Angie, she doesn't anymore do her pose, but she actually started to integrate high fives before very important talks. And so as she emailed that to us, we just couldn't believe it. And we thought, okay, we really have to spread the news to the whole public. So we should really transfer this knowledge. And Franzi, what do you think could be a good way?
Lisbeth, our own High Five National Day. So this is something that is close to our heart, and we are very serious about that. We thought, Angie liked it very much, and we actually told her the idea of a National High Five Day, and she said, yeah, girls, Damien, that's an awesome idea. I totally support that. What you got to do is you have to sign a petition, and we really want you to sign the petition tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa and Franzi. Well, your performance was very physical, I think. Yeah?
Yeah.
What kind of drugs do you use?
Oh,
Maximum is Kölsch.
Yeah.
I thought this is natural.
Yeah,
Also,
usually yes.
yeah.
If this is natural, and you're a psychologist, what does this tell us about you?
That we are crazy?
Yes.
That's what you wanted to hear, right?
Thank
Crazy
you very
about
much.
science.
Franzi
Crazy about
and Lisa. Now it's time to vote. We have seen 6 absolutely hilarious and fantastic presentations, and I'm very happy that I am not allowed to vote, because you have to make a decision. And to facilitate your memory a little bit, I would like to welcome all 6 slammers, including the last group, on the stage again. Please give a big applause, and we welcome them in the order of appearance. Samuel and Michael, Laura, Kate, Oliver, and Lisa und Franzi. Here they are. Now it's up to you. Yeah, I said order of appearance. You realized? I was confused. Should do more high fives. No, I don't need help. I'm nearly finished. It's too late to ask for help. Okay, these are the tubes. In a few seconds, you will get the ping pong balls. We will have one person standing on this side of the stage, one person standing on this side of the stage. You get up, it's a 10-minute break, and you pick a ping pong ball, pass by the tubes, put it in, and then we will have the jury after you. We will have 3 ladies that will be responsible then for lifting up these papers. And then you immediately will see who will be the world champion of tonight. And this gives me now the chance to say thank you. It's nearly impossible to thank everyone that has been involved in the organization of the Science Slam World Cup. We started more than 1.5 years ago. And in these 1.5 years, probably million people of the German Sport University have been involved in this idea and made this week possible. It's hard to thank them all, but you could give them now all together a big applause for what they did. It was fascinating to see how people from the university, from the administrative part, from the academic part, the alumni all got together and worked on this program and made that happen. It's a good way to show that if we work together, we can achieve a lot. As I said, we can't thank everyone, but there's a core team of 3 ladies that have pushed and pulled everyone and everything and made this evening, the final, possible. And I would like to take the chance and thank these 3 ladies, Marita Mehlstäubel, Claudia Kombrink und Jule Löcker. Marita, thank you very much. Jule, great job. Claudia, alles Gute. And now it's up to you, a little bit of exercise. Please stand up. Who will take this bucket? Frank can take this bucket. There's another bucket over there. Someone needs to take that bucket. Claudia, can you do that? So, stand up, get out a ping pong ball and place it in the tube. You can sit down. You can sit down.
Is someone thanking you? Because I think someone should thank you.
Yes.
Honestly.
Gib mal durch, genau. Ha. So everyone sit down again. Shut up. Switch on your mobile phones, especially our international guests, to inform everyone that has been watching. It was not only you in the audience tonight who has been watching. We had a live stream all over the world. People were watching this final here, and they all are very much looking forward for these to be lifted. Ladies, that's fine motor skill, and so I'm off. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah. I think this leaves us with no further problems. Okay, now we're going to count. Die beiden auch. Wartet. Let's Marita go on with this. Please check this. No. Meanwhile, we can do another fingers trick. I'd like the audience to make with your left hand an O. Some fine motor skills. With your right hand an L. It's important that with the L, the rest of the hand is closed. With the O, the rest of the hand is open. I count to 3, and you change this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3, 3, 3, 3. Okay, next stage. Put in your hands like this. Now on your left side, you open here. On the right side, you open here. Yes, especially the slammers. And then you put them across each other and move that forward. Then you change it, move it back, move it forward. Guys, count quicker. I think it was amazing tonight to get 300 people, mainly young people, to this cinema to talk about science and to listen people talk about science. This is a very unique event. And it's my turn to thank you as an audience for being here, for spending this night with us, and to give your vote. And the third place of the first Science Slam World Cup. I can't read your handwriting. The third place, I've made a number of mistakes tonight, and goes to Franziska and Lisa.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Your prize, the third place. Franzi and Lisa. The second place. No, stay up. The second place goes to Ollie Quitman. Congratulations, Oliver Quitman. And this means the first place, the world champion, goes with only 8 balls of difference. So it was very hard, good that we counted, to Kate from Ireland.
Congratulations.
Finally, I would like to welcome all slammers of this week. Not only those who have performed tonight, but everyone who has been on stage this week and everyone from the German Sport University who has been involved in that program. Please come up to the stage. And there is one participant who couldn't be here tonight because his girlfriend had a very important presentation and he chose romantic before the stage. Unbelievable. And this is Mathieu, and I would like to try to Skype him in. I sent him a message that we will be... Here he is, Mathieu. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for being here. Enjoy your evening while Mathieu plays us out of the theater. Thank you very much. Everyone involved, have a good way home. Thanks to all the slammers. Take care on your way back home. And see you.
Congratulations!
Also, we would like to thank Stefan Snyder for everything that he's done for hosting the Science Slam.
Mathieu, would you play us some stupid Belgium song so that everyone is going to leave the audience?
Okay, everyone stand up, start to dance, or leave this room. We're happy to see you for the second Science Slam World Cup, if we find money for that. It's a very bad connection.